Okay.
starting.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Real Talk PR, the podcast where we unpack big social issues simple and honest way. I'm Leah.
I'm Manuel.
And I'm Yo.
Today we're gonna talk about a very sensitive topic, sex education, abortion in the Dominican Republic. We know this can be emotional and controversial, but our goal is to share information, different perspectives, and ask good questions, not to attack anyone's beliefs.
Exactly. Also, quick note. We are not doctors, we are not liars. We are just students having a conversation based on research, interviews, and some other things that we research.
And we want to respect people who are strongly against abortion, people who support changing the law, parents, teachers, young people, everyone listening.
So let's get into it. We'll start with sex education in the Dominican Republic, then talk about abortion laws, and finally try to connect both topics and ask could better sex education change the reality around unwanted pregnancies and unsafe abortions?
Let's start. Let's start with the sex education. We say sex education. What do you mean about that?
For me, sex education is not only how babies are made, it's also consent, relationships, protection, pregnancy, and respect for your own body and other people's bodies.
Right. There's also a difference between abstinence only education and comprehensive sex education. Comprehensive programs usually include information about contraceptions, condoms, gender, sexual orientation, and also emotional stuff like pressure in relationships and how to say no.
Well, in the Dominican Republic, they have been plans to introduce more comprehensive sex education in the national curriculum. But like you know, right? The plans were not fully approved and the implementation are not being like consistent.
Yeah, so it depends a lot on the school. Some private schools invite health professionals. Some public schools keep a few talks. Others barely touch the topic. Maybe one class about reproduction and biology, and that's it.
And that's a problem because the country has high rates of adolescent pregnancy and sexually transmitted infections compared to many other places in the region.
I read and studied some stuff in La Romana that they evaluate to compensate some sex education program to from adolescents, but they show that the students are not like interested in this part. They talk about pregnancy, have more risks in sexual behavior.
So basically, when sex education is done well, it can reduce risky behavior instead of encouraging it.
Exactly, but there's still a lot of fear. Some parents think if we talk about sex, our kids will go out and do it. But the evidence from different countries usually shows the opposite. Students with good information delay sex or use protection more responsibly.
There's also the cultural, the religious side, you know. In the Dominican Republic, the predominantly Christian community, like you know, we are Catholic and many evangelic Protestants. So such religion don't value the talk about the sexual education.
Yeah, and you can see the tension on one side, they need to reduce teen pregnancy and other STYs, and on the other side, fear that sex education will corrupt young people or go against religious beliefs.
But if young people don't get information at school or at home, they still learn from social media, friends, porn, rumors, and a lot of that is wrong or unhealthy.
For me, the key question is, do you prefer our teenagers learn sex from TikTok or WhatsApp memes or trained teachers and health professionals with accurate information?
Well, that brings us to the second part of this conversation. If we don't have a strong sex education, what happens with unwanted pregnancies in a country where abortion is completely banned?
Okay, let's talk about the legal side. Now, right now, abortion is totally illegal in the Dominican Republic under all circumstances. There are no legal exceptions, not even in the cases of rape, incest, or when a pregnant woman's life is in serious risk.
The Constitution protects life from conceptions, and the new penal code approved in 2025 keeps the total criminalization. So the country of a one small group in Latin America with at an absolute ban.
At the same time, organizations like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch have criticized this law, saying it violates women's rights and public health, especially because unsafe abortions are linked to a significant part of maternal deaths. Some estimates say at least around 10% of maternal deaths here are related to unsafe abortion.
There has been a big debate about something called las tres causales, the idea that abortion should be allowed in three specific situations: when a woman's life is at risk, when the pregnancy is the result of a rape or incest, and when the fetus has a condition incompatible with life outside the womb.
Many medical and human rights groups support those three exceptions, but the attempts to include into the penal code have been failed so far. The final law still keeps the total ban.
Let's recognize that there are strong arguments on both sides. On one side, people who support the total ban say life begins at conception, the unborn baby has a right to life, and allowing any exceptions could open the door to more abortions. Many churches and pro-life groups take this position.
On the other side, people who want the three exceptions or broader legalizations are that woman's life and health must be protected. Forcing a woman to continue a pregnancy from a rape is a form of violence, and criminalization doesn't stop abortions. It just makes them unsafe for a poor woman.
So also the class issue. Women with money might travel abroad and get the products, while the poor woman may turn on safe methods. So the impact is a total ban. Not everyone is safe.
Personally, I think we also need to talk about mental health. Imagine a 13 or 14-year-old girl pregnant from rape and the state forces her to continue the pregnancy. Even if someone is personally against abortion, that situation is extremely hard to accept for many people.
And again, people, we're not here to tell listeners that what to think or how to vote. We just want people to understand the reality that abortion is fully criminalized. There is an ongoing debate about human rights, health, and religion, and young people are growing up in this context, often without a strong sex education.
So how those teams connect sex education and abortion?
For me, the link is clear. Better sex education can help reduce unwanted pregnancies, especially among adolescents. If people know how to protect themselves and they feel empowered to negotiate consent and contraception, fewer pregnancies happen by accident, and therefore fewer women may feel desperate enough to seek an unsafe abortion.
Yeah, even if someone is completely pro-life and against any change in the law, they can still support strong sex education as a way to prevent situations where abortion is even considered.
That's an interesting point. Sometimes we think that debate is education versus religion values, but actually, many religious communities also care about the protecting the life, including the life and health of the young woman. Good sex education can be part of that protection.
Of course, there's still a lot of resistance. Some people worry that comprehensive sex education talks about topics like sexual orientation and gender identity, and they feel that goes against their beliefs. Others think that that they have been mentioning condoms or the pills is promoting promiscuity.
That's right. But we have to separate information from approval. Teaching someone how a condom works doesn't mean telling them go have sex with everybody. It means if you ever decide to be sexually active, do it safely.
Also, when the young people understand the consensus, they are more likely to reorganize abuse and report it, which could reduce the pregnancies and the sexual violence.
And if the country is going to keep such as a strict abortion law, then it has an even bigger responsibility to prevent unwanted pregnancies and support pregnant women. Health services, psychological support, social protection, because they don't have the legal option to terminate a pregnancy.
Exactly. You can't say no to every option and offer nothing. That's not fair, especially to poor women and girls.
So maybe the common ground is something like this. We may disagree in an abortion law, but we can agree that no girl should get pregnant just because nobody taught her basic information. And agree that women who are pregnant should relieve care, respect, and support.
I like that. And I will add, we should create spaces where young people can ask questions without shame. Sometimes the biggest barrier is that people are too embarrassed to talk.
Yeah. If if you can't ask your parents, your teachers, your doctors, you end up asking Google or your friends, which isn't always reliable.
Well, to wrap up today's talk, we talk about the current situation about sex education in Dominican Republic, some efforts and some gaps. The fact that the abortion is totally banned with no legal exception, and the big debate about las tres causales, and how comprehensive sex education could help reduce the unwanted pregnancies and the risk of unsafe abortions.
We know this topic is heavy and personal. Maybe you completely disagree with some things we said, and that's okay. Our goal is that you finish this episode with more information and maybe new questions to think about.
If you're listening at this and this topic affects you personally, maybe you're dealing with an unwanted pregnancy or you've experienced sexual violence, please reach out to a trusted adult, a health professional, or a support organization. You don't have to go through it alone.
And everyone else, talk about this issue with respect. Listen, everyone's your reactions and yourself. What ask yourself, what kind of society do you have to want for young people in this country?
Thank you so much for listening to Real Talk DR.
If you like this episode or you learned something new, share with your friends and keep it your conversation going.
Bye
Bye.
Bye.
bye.